It was July 30th, 1989, an ominous evening etched into the history of rodeo. Lane Frost, a beloved and fearless rodeo champion, was about to face a challenge that would test every ounce of grit he'd honed over years of bull riding. For Lane, this wasn't just sport, it was his life. His job? Survive 8 brutal seconds on the back of a beast engineered by nature to throw him like a rag doll. The beast in question was no ordinary bull, weighing in at 1,500 pounds. Takin Care of Business was a ferocious legend. Massive, muscular, and merciless. That's like 5 refrigerators charging at you, horns first. And on that rain-slicked night, as storm clouds snarled overhead and the arena turned to muddy muck, the odds were stacked higher than ever. But Lane, with his signature calm and an iron grip on the bull rope, was undeterred. He climbed on top, muscles taut, jaw set. The chute burst open. The bull erupted into chaos. The crowd roared like thunder. Every buck, every twist, every breath was a war. And for Lane, I can only imagine that those 8 seconds felt more like 8 hours. He had no idea this ride would be his last, and he certainly didn't know it would change the sport forever. This is not just the story of a legendary ride, it's the story of a man who became an icon and the bull that became infamous. Today, I explore the tragic, electrifying story of the bull that killed Lane Frost. Welcome to the Extreme Edge. Lane was born October 12, 1963, in La Junta, Colorado, which is actually only 3 hours from where I live. His father, Clyde, was a courageous and skilled 3-event rodeo cowboy. As a young boy, Lane regularly watched his father perform, perhaps not fully grasping the immense dangers he faced each and every time he mounted a bull. But this early exposure to his father's bravery and skill may have kindled the fire within him, leading him down the same path. Lane's family eventually moved to Oklahoma during his childhood years. There, he was fully immersed in rodeo heritage. He spent endless hours listening to the iconic stories of legendary cowboys from across the states. And probably some of them were his dad's friends. But if you were to ask Lane's mother, Elsie, he didn't seem to be interested in the sport of bull riding as a child. During one interview, she said, "He never was interested. He wouldn't even hardly watch the rodeo till I'd tell him your dad's getting ready to ride. And then he'd watch. The rest of the time, he'd be playing in the dirt." Despite his mother's comments, it's evident bull riding ran through his veins, and by age 5, he had already ridden his first calf. It quickly became apparent he was a natural, and Lane soon won several awards from youth rodeos across the country. While many of us couldn't imagine placing our young children on the back of an aggressive and dangerous bull, by age 10, this young cowboy had claimed notable victories in various competitions, earning first place in bareback, second in calf roping, and third in calf riding at the Little Buckaroos rodeos in the Uintah Basin. In 1981, he became the National High School Bull Riding Champion, and less than a year later, he was crowned the bull riding champion of the first Youth National Finals in Fort Worth, Texas. By now, the wheels were in motion, and Lane was on a one-way trail to becoming one of the greatest bull riders in U.S. history. He graduated from high school in 1982 and almost immediately joined the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association and began riding full-time. He qualified for his first National Finals rodeo 2 years later. This was the pinnacle of the bull riding world, and to win it would cement any rider's place in the history books. By now, Lane was amassing a fan base who loved him not only for his courageous attitude that led him to mount some of the most dangerous bulls in the arena, but also for his unique skill set. Crowds would flock to the arena and stand in awe as he managed to score on bull after bull. It truly was art in motion, and his fans couldn't help but admire his talent. In 1986, he took his career to the next level, claiming the coveted National Finals Rodeo Bull Riding Average title. But this isn't the highest prize for a bull rider. Lane narrowly missed out on becoming the world champion that year, taking 3rd place. But he didn't let this get to him. The following year, he pushed harder than ever, and by the end of 1987, his dreams had come true. He was finally crowned bull riding's world champion. Lane followed up this success by qualifying for the National Finals Rodeo for 5 consecutive years, from 1984 to 1988. This is the cowboy equivalent of the Super Bowl. Each year, the top-ranked cowboys and cowgirls in the country gather together and compete in a series of events. Despite his achievements and a world championship now under his belt, one of his most notable accomplishments came in 1988. Tiny detour on this chaos train. If you want more raw, uncut stories we can't show here, come join the Extreme community on Patreon. See you on the real Extreme Edge. In 1988, Lane took part in an event known as the Challenge of the Champions. This competition was brought to life by John Groney, an established figure in the rodeo world. He planned to pit Lane against one of the most infamous animals ever to enter an arena, his own bull, Red Rock. You see, this bull was no ordinary beast. It was the holy grail to bull riders. On over 300 separate occasions, bull riders had tried to reach the 8-second mark, and each and every time they were bucked off. To many in the cowboy world, this task seemed all but impossible. Weighing in at over 1,800 pounds, Red Rock was among the largest and most dangerous bulls in rodeo history. His undefeated status made him a legend in the cowboy world. So when Lane was offered the chance to compete against Red Rock, he didn't hesitate for a second. He embraced the challenge and would go on to etch his name into the history books as the first man to ride the Red Rock during his 5th attempt at the Redding Rodeo in Redding, California on May 20th. By 1989, Lane had cemented his palace as one of the greatest names ever to grace the sport of bull riding. But it wasn't just his skills that earned the hearts of crowds from the cowboy community. Lane has a smile that could light up a room, and his charismatic personality and kindness allowed him to connect with fans on a deeper level. But when the time came to grab onto the rope around the bull's hind legs and hang on for 8 seconds, he immediately switched into a performer, and it was business as usual. There was no room for errors when you're dealing with bulls of this nature. One slight mistake or loss of concentration could be the difference between life and death in his line of employment. On this channel, I've shared several videos about just how dangerous and unpredictable these beasts can be. Many possess buck-off percentages that leave us questioning why anyone would even try to mount such a beast in the first place. Couple this with their enormous weights and unmatched strength, and it's easy to see why even the toughest of bull riders feel an overwhelming sense of fear when they lock eyes with their dancing partner of the evening. Despite being hailed as one of the most skillful riders of his generation, Lane remained humble. He was actively aware the immense power of any bull could lead him to a premature grave. But this was the life he chose, and we don't think he regretted it for a second. On July 30th, 1989, he would come face-to-face with a bull that would forever change the course of history. At just 25 years old, Lane was scheduled to take part in a bull riding event at the Cheyenne Frontier Days show in Wyoming. This popular event served as a pathway for Lane to earn his place at the National Rodeo Finals for the 6th consecutive year. But standing in his way was an enormous bull known to locals as Takin Care of Business. Weighing an estimated 1,500 pounds, it wasn't quite as heavy as his arch nemesis, Red Rock. While some bulls were both feared and remembered by riders for their unpredictable nature or even sheer athleticism, Takin Care of Business etched its name into rodeo history for a different reason altogether. Takin Care of Business was a Brahma bull owned by the Bad Company Rodeo, a group known for producing some of the most menacing bulls ever to enter the arena. This breed originated in India before being bred in the US in the 19th century, revered for its exceptional heat tolerance, fertility, and genetic advantages in crossbreeding. However, their unprecedented size, muscular build, and tendency to buck make them ideal candidates for the rodeo. By the Cheyenne Frontier Days show in 1989, Takin Care of Business had gained a reputation as a powerful beast to those in the rodeo circuit despite its short career. His immense strength and bucking power undoubtedly left many riders questioning their initial decision to mount him in the first place. I mean, can you blame them? Being thrown from this animal would certainly leave the riders with more than a few bruises the following morning. Nonetheless, if a rider drew its name, They would be forced to climb upon its enormous body and do their best to hold on while the clock slowly ticked down. On the day of the event, things went as normal for Lane. He spent some time talking to his beloved fans who had traveled a great distance to watch him perform. He felt he was about to make history. His confidence was at an all-time high, following several impressive victories over the past year. But if you've been following this channel for some time, you'll know that no one is immune to tragedy, and disasters can occur at any moment. The sun's rays began to break through the clouds after a period of rainfall and lit up his stage of dirt and mud. The conditions in the arena were challenging, but Lane, like always, thrived, even when the odds were slightly stacked against him. The crowds cheered his name as he made his way onto the bull, and by 3:30 p.m., he was thrust through the metal gate. It was showtime. Lane managed his balance well as the bull burst out in a frenzy of bucking and kicking. He gripped the rope tighter, using every ounce of energy to remain on its back, spurring it to gain extra points. The crowd cheered as his free arm waved with each powerful buck. No matter how hard Takin Care of Business tried, it failed to throw Lane from its back with each jump and dip. For a brief moment, it appeared Lane had matched the bull's intensity. But then, with one sharp bump and a turn in direction, Takin Care of Business launched him from its back. The crowd erupted into cheer and began clapping, knowing that Lane had successfully lasted the 8 seconds required for a score. But almost immediately, they began to sense something was wrong. Lane's wrist had become caught in the rope, and he landed awkwardly, falling directly in front of the bull's line of sight. Before he could even blink, Takin Care of Business charged at him and proceeded to violently attack him as he curled up on the ground. It stamped his head and body using its immense weight. Then, with one powerful thrust, it drove its enormous horn into the side of his body. The crowd gasped and fell silent as they watched their hero lie in the middle of the arena. Within a few moments, Lane managed to get back to his feet, but the damage was done. He was clearly in a lot of pain and struggling to breathe. He frantically waved to his friend Tough Hedeman on the sidelines for help. Horrifying footage of the event then shows Lane take a few steps towards those rushing to his aid before collapsing face first into the dirt. Medical professionals rushed to his aid. They tried everything they could to get a response from the bull rider, but it quickly became apparent that there was nothing they could do. Silence filled the arena as the crowd watched the lifeless body of Lane get taken away by emergency services. By the time he arrived at the Memorial Hospital at approximately 4 p.m., he was pronounced dead. Dr. Skip Ross was one of the first responders who later went on to speak about the events of that fateful day. He believed the impact of the bull's horns had broken several of Lane's ribs, and one likely tore through a major artery or even his heart, causing severe internal bleeding. Takin Care of Business had just claimed the life of one of the greatest bull riders in the history of the sport, and for the rest of its career, it carried the stigma of being the bull that killed Lane Frost. When people arrived at the arena to watch Lane Frost compete that evening, no one even imagined it would be the last time they would ever see Lane on the back of a bull. News of the 25-year-old's death spread like wildfire. Many couldn't believe it, while others in the cowboy community were left in a state of shock. How could one of the best bull riders of his time die in such a way? As Flint Rasmussen, an iconic PBR rodeo barrelman, put it, a guy like that, a world champion who everybody knew was just that to us, such an untouchable, unfathomable thing. Riders from that day onward would step into the chute with an unspoken understanding of the deadly capacity hidden under the bull's otherwise standard bucking. For many, the reality of what happened hit home, and professional riders were forced to reckon with the idea that death could come for them at any minute inside the arena. Lane's death cast a dark shadow on the rodeo community, and many began asking questions. Did the sport really care more about entertainment than its own riders? His tragic passing opened the eyes of many and showed the bull riding community two things: that success in bull riding isn't truly confirmed until both the rider and the bull exit safely, and that even the best can fall in a heartbeat. However, the horrifying loss that shook the rodeo community to its very core also led to a major revolution in safety. Suddenly, it became apparent that the line between a thrilling ride and a fatal tragedy was wafer thin, and maybe, just maybe, it was time the sport did something more to protect its athletes. The incident highlighted the need for improved safety measures, including the use of protective vests, helmets, and other gear for riders. As Rasmussen later said, "When we look at that now, with what I've seen through my career and see what bull riders wear, I don't think he would have been injured at all." One pivotal figure in the safety movement was Lane's longtime friend and fellow bull rider Cody Lambert. Almost 3 years after his death, Cody had helped design and release the first protective vest aimed at protecting riders against puncture wounds and blunt trauma. The idea for the vest came from those worn by his younger brother, a jockey who rode racehorses. Lambert modified a jockey vest to be worn outside riders' clothing. It was flexible, easy to remove, and had a Western look that fit well with the rodeo scene. This was the beginning of the safety revolution that would forever change the sport of bull riding. Riders were now readily aware of the serious dangers they faced each and every time they entered the arena. James Burton Mooney is one of many professional rodeo cowboys who have openly admitted that he is forever in debt to Lane. During his career, Mooney rode some of the highest-ranked bulls in the sport during his years with the PBR and made history in 2016 when he became the first bull rider to reach the $7 million mark in career earnings. Lane was a legend in his eyes, and during one interview, he highlighted the influence he had on his own career. "I grew up watching Lane Frost, so that's pretty much how I learned how to ride bulls." Mooney also admitted that Cody's invention had saved his own life many times. It's unfortunate that things like Frost's death have to happen to turn it around and get something like that, but it's all part of the game. But Lane's death was not limited to safety measures within the sport. It drastically changed how both competitors and fans saw the rodeo as a whole. Many riders began to approach bull riding with a greater sense of respect and caution. As Nevada Newman, a bull rider from Melstone, Montana, said, "It definitely shows it is a dangerous sport and you can die. It gave us a little more respect for the sport too." Similarly, fans also started to view bull riding with a deeper understanding of the risks involved, leading to a more respectful and supportive attitude towards the sport. The influence of Lane Frost can still be seen in modern bull riding. His legacy continues to inspire riders who draw inspiration from his talent, personality, and dedication to the sport. Nathan Shaper, a professional bull rider, said, "We kind of celebrate every day because of him. We're always looking up to him every day." This ongoing influence serves as a reminder of the importance of safety in bull riding and the need to honor Lane's memory by continuing to improve safety measures in the sport. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay bold and live brave.